The ground trembled beneath the observatory as Lucas Reed slammed his hand against the console, trying to keep the instruments from flickering into chaos. Sparks jumped across the panels, sensors screaming warnings he had no time to decode. The sky outside had fractured into streaks of green and silver, a shifting lens of light that seemed alive and unnatural, bending as if it had its own consciousness. Merrick Reed gritted his teeth, gripping the railing that ran along the lab's upper catwalk. He could feel the resonance of the tremor in his chest, a vibration that carried with it something primal and threatening. "Lucas, the shield's failing faster than predicted," he said, voice tight, yet calm enough to mask the panic he felt crawling along his spine. His eyes followed the jagged lines in the sky, trying to understand how something could appear so vast, so deliberate, without having passed through human detection. Lucas ignored the trembling sensors and the blinking warning lights. He focused on the energy signature that pulsed from the approaching object, a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. It was enormous, bigger than any satellite or asteroid, but it moved with intent, carving a path through the upper atmosphere as if testing every particle of the air it displaced. Lucas leaned closer, fingers flying over the console, trying to make sense of equations that kept twisting into nonsense as the energy interfered with everything electronic. Merrick's hands clenched into fists as he watched the alien ship hover over the Atlantic, a metallic and organic hybrid that defied all logic. Its surface shimmered with silver and blue light, but the glow was alive, shifting, almost breathing. Military satellites had fired on it, but the flashes of plasma weapons vanished into its hull without even leaving a mark. "They're not just watching," Merrick muttered, "they're studying us." Lucas pressed a button, pulling up deep scans of the core of the ship. Something inside it resonated with frequencies he had only read about in theory, linked to energy patterns deep beneath the Earth's crust. He felt his chest tighten, a mix of awe and dread. "Merrick, if they're feeding off the planet, we might not have any time before it decides what it wants with us." The observatory shuddered again, this time harder, and a low hum began to rise from the floor beneath them. The lights flickered, then dimmed, leaving only the glow of the alien vessel and the faint illumination of emergency panels. Lucas and Merrick exchanged a look, the kind that didn't need words, filled with the weight of knowing they were witnessing something beyond human comprehension and far beyond anything they were trained to confront. Suddenly, the energy at the Earth's core flared like a signal, spreading in waves that rattled every building and device across the globe. Instruments went dead, fires sparked in laboratories, and the ocean rippled with a strange, rising pulse. The ship responded instantly, a beam of blue light lancing toward the planet, scanning, probing, almost acknowledging the awakening force below. Lucas swallowed hard, realizing humanity had stirred something that had waited for millennia. Merrick leaned close to Lucas, voice quiet but urgent. "It's not here to destroy us yet, but it knows we're awake." The hum intensified, now vibrating through the walls, through the floor, through their bones, and deep beneath them, the forgotten power beneath the surface pulsed back, as if it had been waiting for this precise moment. The tremor faded, but the aftershocks lingered, vibrating through the floor like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Lucas Reed and Merrick Reed stood in the dim emergency light, staring at the data that still streamed in from the failing instruments. It was chaotic, impossible, but there was a pattern buried beneath it all, a rhythm that hinted at something ancient, something intentionally dormant until now. "We need to see it up close," Lucas said, his fingers brushing over the console like he could coax the truth out of it. "If this energy is connected to the core, if it's really alive, then waiting is not an option." Merrick ran a hand over his face, his jaw tight. "Up close means going inside the ground. Means risking the entire continent shaking itself apart. You really want to do that?" Lucas met his brother's eyes, unflinching. "Yes, because if we don't understand it, we're nothing. The military can't touch it, the satellites can't touch it, and that ship is patient. We're running out of time." The call came from General Caldwell Drake. His voice was low, careful, like he carried the weight of everyone he commanded but didn't want it to crush those who heard him. "Read, the world's watching. Every nation. Every weapon system is being scrambled. We need your expertise on this. And your brother too." When Lucas arrived at the makeshift command center, the room buzzed with a mix of tension and barely controlled panic. Scientists, engineers, and military officers worked side by side, but the room smelled of fear more than cooperation. General Drake stood at the center, his posture rigid, his eyes scanning the holographic projections of the planet and the hovering vessel above the Atlantic. "You think you understand it," Drake said, voice carrying both challenge and warning. "But you're dealing with something that predates humanity. Every choice you make has consequences we might not survive." Lucas nodded, his gaze fixed on the projection of the energy pulses crawling across the globe. "I don't know what it is yet, sir. But I know it's connected to the Earth and it's reacting to the ship. We have to find the source even if it kills us." Merrick leaned against the edge of the table, scanning the readouts. "Source is not just the core," he said, voice low, "it's buried deeper. Someone tried to hide it. Someone wanted it forgotten. And now it's awake." Lucas ran simulations, his mind racing as he pieced together fragments of old research, abandoned projects, and legends of energy buried beneath tectonic plates. It wasn't just power, it was something alive, responsive, intelligent in its own way. And it had been waiting for the exact conditions humanity had just triggered. Lucas, Merrick, and a small team of specialists prepared for the descent. The vehicle they would use was experimental, designed for extreme pressure, extreme heat, and untested energy fields. The moment they left the surface, the Earth itself seemed to push back, tremors shaking the craft, twisting metal, making alarms scream. The farther they went, the deeper the pulse grew, stronger than anything they could have imagined. It felt personal, like the Earth had a mind of its own, and it was deciding whether they were worthy of contact. The walls of the cavern glowed faintly as they descended, veins of light snaking through rock in patterns that almost resembled circuitry. Lucas gritted his teeth as he felt the vehicle shudder. "It's responding to us," he said, awe and fear mingling in his voice. "It knows we're here." Merrick glanced over, his face pale in the glow. "Do you think it wants us to survive?" The pulse surged again, and the floor of the cavern seemed to ripple beneath them, lifting slightly, then settling with a deliberate weight. And then the voice came, not words, but a vibration that filled the chamber, felt through their bones. It was a question, a challenge, a recognition. "Are you ready to awaken?" The vehicle rocked violently, lights flickering, as if the forgotten power itself was testing them, teasing them, demanding more than courage or intelligence, demanding trust. The air inside the cavern felt charged, almost breathing. Lucas Reed tightened his grip on the control panel as the vehicle descended further, the glow from the veins of energy intensifying until it was almost blinding. Merrick Reed leaned back, every muscle tense, listening to the low hum that vibrated through the hull. It wasn't just a sound, it was a presence, something ancient acknowledging them. The surface above trembled, a faint shadow passing through the ceiling of the cavern. Lucas glanced at the monitors and froze. The alien ship had detached a smaller craft, sleek and silent, descending into the atmosphere above the Arctic. Its design was impossible, a balance of elegance and menace that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. "Lucas, look at this," Merrick said, voice tight, pointing to the projections. "They're not attacking. They're observing. They're waiting for us to make the next move." Lucas's fingers flew over the console, trying to match the patterns of the energy from below with the movements of the ship. Each pulse of the forgotten power seemed to send a subtle response, a wave that rippled outward like a message no one could fully decipher. The deeper they went, the more he realized the energy wasn't just responsive, it was intelligent, almost sentient, testing their patience, their resolve, their intent. Merrick let out a low whistle, leaning against the vehicle's wall. "We've spent years preparing for first contact with aliens, and it turns out they're the polite kind. They want to see if we're clever enough to survive." Lucas didn't smile. "Polite isn't the word I'd use. Judging maybe. They're studying us, and the only way to pass this test is to understand the power we've awakened. And right now we don't even know the rules." The vehicle descended into a vast chamber where the veins of light converged into a single pulsing core, radiating energy in patterns Lucas had never seen. He felt it resonate with his own neural patterns, a strange, almost intimate connection. "It's communicating," he whispered, barely able to comprehend what he felt. "It's asking us to participate, not just observe." Merrick swallowed hard, his eyes wide in the glow. "Participate? In what? And if we get it wrong?" Before Lucas could respond, the smaller alien craft landed nearby. A hatch opened, and a figure emerged. Not humanoid, not threatening, but utterly foreign, its form shifting in ways his mind could barely process. The energy from the core pulsed in tandem with the figure's movements, as if the being and the forgotten power were one entity, or at least intimately connected. Lucas took a slow step forward, feeling the pull of curiosity stronger than fear. "We're here," he said, his voice low. "We want to understand." The being emitted a vibration, a tone that washed over the cavern like a wave. It was not sound but feeling, a message that conveyed intent without words. Merrick recoiled slightly, but Lucas held his ground, letting the pulse wash over him. It wasn't hostile. It wasn't peaceful. It was testing, observing, measuring the depth of humanity's courage, creativity, and restraint. As they stood there, the core's light flared violently, illuminating the cavern in a surge that made the vehicle rock. Lucas realized the alien ship had responded to humanity's awakening of the forgotten power. The energy wasn't just a force, it was a bridge, a key, and a mirror to what humanity could achieve if it chose wisely. Merrick's voice was barely audible. "Lucas, do you think we're ready for this?" The pulse intensified again, faster, stronger, almost impatient, and for the first time, Lucas understood the truth. The ship wasn't just testing them, it was inviting them to evolve. And humanity had only just begun to scratch the surface of what it could become. The skies over the Atlantic turned chaotic, a tangle of electrical storms and shimmering auroras. The alien ship remained in orbit, not attacking outright but bending the planet's magnetic field to create violent weather patterns. Entire coastlines were pounded by storms, satellites went dark, and the hum of the forgotten power beneath the surface grew louder, resonating with the chaos above. Lucas Reed adjusted the control panel in the command center, sweat slicking his forehead. "It's responding to us," he said, urgency cutting through the tension. "Every move we make, every pulse we send, it's adapting." Merrick Reed leaned over his shoulder, tracing lines of energy on the holographic projection. "Then we fight smart, not hard. We can't punch it, we have to think it out. The ship isn't just testing us, it's testing the planet. And we're the only ones who can coordinate this." General Caldwell Drake's voice came over the comm, low and commanding. "Prepare the teams. Coordinate every nation's response. This is no longer about weapons, it's about survival and cooperation. Humanity has one shot." Lucas and Merrick worked with Simon Carver, the AI engineer whose sarcastic quips barely masked his brilliant calculations. "If we synchronize the forgotten power with human neural patterns globally, we can create a shield," Simon said, gesturing at his console. "It's risky. It might burn out the power source or fry half the team, but it's the only shot we have." Merrick's jaw tightened. "Then we don't have a choice." Teams across continents began aligning with the energy network beneath the surface. Citizens volunteered in unprecedented numbers, creating a living web of human consciousness to amplify the forgotten power. Lucas guided the interface, merging science with instinct, as if the planet itself had become a collaborator rather than a battlefield. The alien ship shifted in orbit, sensing the resistance. Pulses of energy crashed against the synchronized human network, testing its limits. Lucas's hands flew over the controls, adjusting, recalibrating, feeling the weight of the entire planet in every movement. Sparks leapt from the panels, alarms screamed, but the web held. Merrick's voice was strained but steady. "We're holding it, barely. But it's holding us back too. It's learning." The ship responded with a sudden surge, bending gravity in a localized area. Teams on the surface were thrown off balance, structures shook, and a cascade of energy struck the network, nearly collapsing it. Lucas and Merrick fought to stabilize the interface, each pulse of the forgotten power threatening to overwhelm them physically and mentally. And then it happened. The core beneath the Earth flared violently, brighter than anything they had seen, sending waves of energy radiating across the globe. Lucas felt it resonate deep within him, a connection so intense it felt like the planet was speaking directly through his mind. Merrick stumbled, gripping the console, and Lucas realized the forgotten power wasn't just energy, it was a test of humanity itself. As the waves collided with the alien ship, it quivered in orbit, almost as if surprised by the humans' response. The auroras above the storm-torn Atlantic danced wildly, pulsing in rhythm with the energy network. Humanity had managed to push back to assert themselves, but the strain was immense. Lives had been lost in the effort, sacrifices uncountable, and the cost of failure had never felt so real. Lucas looked at Merrick, both of them breathing hard, faces streaked with sweat and grime. "It's not over," Lucas said, his voice low, almost a warning to themselves. "It's learning from us. We held it for now, but it knows we're awake." Merrick nodded, eyes scanning the turbulent skies. "And now it's coming down. I think it's going to see us directly." The hum from the planet's core surged once more, and the forgotten power pulsed like a living heartbeat. The alien ship began its descent, slow but deliberate, radiating an intelligence and intent that neither Lucas nor Merrick could fully grasp. Humanity had survived the first wave, but the confrontation was far from over. The alien ship descended through the atmosphere, moving with a deliberate weight that seemed to shake the air itself. Storms churned violently around it, lightning arcing across the sky, and every instrument in the command center screamed warnings. Lucas Reed gritted his teeth, feeling the pulse of the forgotten power beneath the Earth resonate in tandem with the vessel's energy. It was alive, aware and demanding something from humanity. Merrick Reed stood beside him, jaw tight, fingers brushing over the interface that linked the human network with the Earth's core. "It's coming for us directly," he said, voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "And I think it's expecting us to respond." Lucas took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment, feeling the surge of energy flow through the network. Citizens across the planet had connected, contributing their thoughts, intentions, and courage. The forgotten power had become a living interface, a bridge between humans and the alien presence. "We can do this," he said, his voice more to himself than anyone else. "We have to." The ship touched down on a remote plateau, the ground quaking beneath its mass. Energy cascaded from it in waves, scanning, probing, almost like a heartbeat measuring the rhythm of humanity. Lucas felt it in his chest, a vibration that was both terrifying and exhilarating. The vessel's surface shimmered, shifting in patterns that reflected the pulse of the network below. Merrick adjusted the interface frantically. "We need to match our rhythm to its pattern, sync every pulse perfectly," he shouted. Sparks flew from overloaded panels, alarms blared, but the synchronization began to stabilize. Lucas felt the power merge with his own neural patterns, a fusion of human ingenuity and ancient energy. It wasn't just defense, it was a conversation, a negotiation of existence. From the ship emerged a figure, fluid and shifting, neither threatening nor comforting. It moved with grace, its presence radiating awareness, and as it approached, the energy network responded with a surge so intense it felt like the Earth itself was exhaling. Lucas realized the being was not testing them for conquest but for comprehension. It wanted to see if humanity could wield the forgotten power responsibly. Merrick glanced at Lucas, voice low. It's judging us. But not like we thought. It's looking for choice, for creativity, for restraint." The pulse of the core intensified, reaching a crescendo, and Lucas felt his consciousness stretch, expand, connecting with minds across the globe. Humanity was awake, present, and for the first time, fully aware of its potential. The alien ship shuddered slightly, almost as if acknowledging the answer it had been waiting for. Energy radiated outward, forming a shimmering shield around the vessel and the planet. The storms dissipated, auroras danced gently, and the hum of the forgotten power became a steady heartbeat beneath the Earth. Humanity had not just survived, they had proven themselves, asserting intelligence, cooperation, and courage in a way no alien force had predicted. Merrick exhaled, a mix of relief and awe. "We did it," he said, though neither of them truly knew what the future held. Lucas looked at the ship, now still and serene. "They're leaving," he whispered. "But they won't forget us. And neither will the power." The alien vessel lifted slowly, vanishing into the stars, leaving humanity with a planet still trembling beneath their feet and a force that had been dormant for millennia, now awake and waiting. Lucas and Merrick stood side by side, the weight of everything they had survived settling over them. Humanity had reached a new level, but the questions lingered: what would they do with the power they now possessed, and what other eyes in the galaxy had been watching all along?